call the regular meeting of the Morganton City Council, August 1st, 2022 to order. I'll ask Councilman Chris Hawkins to please lead us in Pledge of Allegiance. If you please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll ask our city attorney, Louis Vina, if he'll lead us in an invocation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My speaker on. I'd ask that you please join me in a moment of silent reflection as we prepare for this meeting, each in his or her own way, and then I will pray a brief invocation. Gracious God, we pray that you watch over this gathering, that you guide and direct those who govern this city as they go about its business, tonight and always. That you give inspiration, wisdom, and courage to our mayor and city council members and to all city staff as we go about the business of this place. And that you continue to bless this city of Morganton, which we call home. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
I'd like to introduce City Council. To my far right, Wendy Cato, Mayor Pro Tem, Chris Jernigan, City Council, Louis Vina, our City Attorney. I'm Ronnie Thompson, your Mayor, Sally Sandy, City Manager, Butch McSwain, City Council, Chris Hawkins, City Council, Renee Carswell, for our recording secretary, or executive assistant, excuse me. Our interpreters for the deaf community, Daniette Steele-Bridgman and Ernest Williams IV. We have 3 service pins that have been presented. These individuals are not with us tonight. Scott Stewart, who's a street supervisor in Public Works, has been with us 20 years. Tony Bova, who's the production manager at our Performing Arts Center for 20 years. And Jesse Peeler, our senior maintenance worker in Public Works, who's been with us for 25 years. Those individuals have received their service pins. Under public advocacy, we have Foothills Conservancy of North Carolina. I believe we have some members here present. And are they making a presentation?
I believe so.
Okay, if you'll come forward and introduce yourself.
Good evening. Sure. Good evening, y'all.
You can all come, yeah.
We're all coming.
We travel light. We're
Okay.
notorious for traveling light. Good evening, Council. I am Grayson Barnett, the Marketing and Communications Coordinator. To my right here is my colleague, Brittany Watkins. I'll let you introduce your title as well.
Oh yeah, Volunteer and Engagement Coordinator for Foothills Conservancy.
Behind me is Michael Lowther. He is you're the CEO and owner of the Over Mountain Cycles here in town. Great. We're here today to present kind of an update on the mountain biking trail. On October 4th, 2021, we were before you as we entered this memorandum of agreement among ourselves, Over Mountain Cycles, and the city, which owns the park that the trail is on. We're here to ask for the city's continued support of the project, as we believe that this fits nicely into the city's economic growth opportunities outlined in the Mission 2030 Comprehensive Development Plan. Since last October, we've constructed over 2 miles of this trail, primarily the more advanced sections along the Rocket Ford access point closest to the river. As you can see in this diagram here,
I can bring this around closer to you.
Sure.
it's the advanced sections here.
Okay, yeah.
Is that the same as we have?
Closest to the river there at the Rocky Ford access.
Wow. Just go ahead and show it to them. I'm just.
Okay.
Then the yellow, orange, black, and part of the blue.
Okay.
Yeah. And we gave them a copy of that. It's not as easy to see as that.
Yeah, sure.
It's not colored, so we don't have the,
Yeah. This particular section of the trail offers the higher level terrain, which is really highly sought after the mountain biking enthusiasts, but really isn't commonly found with this level of accessibility. So recently we were able to talk to Chrissy from the Morganton News Herald here. we were able to take them there to show the progress that had been made, and since that announcement, we've had a real surge of interest from the community in support and donations. A lot of people want to go out there. This trail will really align nicely with the existing greenway in Morganton, offering about 4.5 miles for multi-use on a natural surface, unpaved trail option for recreational use, including hiking, mountain biking, and other forms of recreation. Trail running is my particular one. Many sections of this trail will be available from everyone to casual riders to adaptive cycling, which is for those who may be handicapped in some way that need a wider use. That's the other sections of the trail that we have not started yet. The more advanced section of the trail is where we have started, and this is more aggressive turns and kind of berms, different slopes and jumps and things that really is highly sought after mountain biking enthusiasts. For mountain bikers and hikers who live here in Morganton, this trail will only be a few minutes away and will be accessible from multiple spots around the city and the Greenway. This will open up more opportunities for additional economic development by visitors and regional citizens, around outdoor recreation. With the diverse options for beginner, intermediate, and experienced mountain bikers, it opens a little bit for everyone. This trail will also be suitable for interscholastic cycling competitions and is expected to quickly become a prime destination for these events, helping other businesses around the community. This helps stamp Morganton as a top destination for bikers, strengthening our downtown and outdoor recreation economy, which notably checks off 2 points made in the Mission 2030 plan in both land use and economic growth, both growing the tourism industry through direct investments in destination activities, as well as strengthening downtown as a destination itself. What better way to support these objectives than to help us finalize this timely project? Current estimates expect the trail to cost around $213,000, but we expect this to slightly increase due to previously unexpected issues with a section of the trail, but will be corrected so that we can increase the long-term sustainability of the trail. An investment from the City Council matching the grant awarded will allow us to ensure that the trail gets completed in a timely manner, and it's done so in a way that reduces additional maintenance costs in the future. We were fortunate enough to have received a $100,000 grant from the NC Recreational Trails Program that we applied for on behalf of this community project. Foothills Conservancy will continue to raise private funds to help with needs as they arise, but investment from the City Council will help solidify this project. Our goal here is simple: continue to offer high-quality outdoor recreation opportunities to both residents and visitors of our area, and investment tonight will help Morganton stay ahead of the region. We're here to offer and answer any questions.
Council have any questions? Michael, you're probably pretty excited about this, correct?
Yes, sir.
You want to speak to the interscholastic opportunities available?
Oh, yeah. So he mentioned a few opportunities for tourism and for putting on events. If you guys are not familiar, there is a National Interscholastic Cycling Association, short for NICA, and Burke County has their own team. We have the Burke Bearcats. I've helped co-coach this team for 3 years, I think now. And every year, the North Carolina has 5 different races, and there's 5 different races across the country or the state. And at these races, they had to limit them because they got so big. So imagine like 800 kids coming with their parents, cars, hotels, you name it. So Morganton in one weekend could have 500 parents is what they limited, or 500 students. So you have all those people coming just for one event. That's good tourism for Burke County. And then with that trail system, not just the bike shop, but other people can do events too, and have races, running races, trail races, and stuff like that. So great opportunity to bring those dollars back in. They're coming to ride the trail, but they're staying to go to Fontefleur Brewery, go to Root and Vine, stay in the hotels, all those kind of things. And they, like mountain bikers, they bring the whole crew and they go out and have a good time.
Where's the closest competition now?
Closest competition now would probably be closer to Greensboro. And we're really fortunate where we are geographically, because we're more in the middle of the state. You have a ton of folks in the western part of the state that have to drive all the way to the coast or closer to Raleigh to do your races, and this is really well positioned.
Great. Any other questions?
When you originally came and we, allowed for the land to be used for this event, it looks like it was grossly underestimated in terms of of costs, have you expanded it, or is it the original design that we talked about in the beginning?
I can speak to that a little bit. So, Brittany, and yeah, so I'm sure as you're familiar with any construction project, we hired a trail contractor as part of the Professional Trail Builders Association. So they help meet certain standards of sustainable trails, which helps minimize long-term cost of the trail, maintenance for the trail. And so the plan that we presented before that helped us get the original 100,000 funding, that was more of like a conceptual plan. So once we actually got on the ground, and a lot of the Parks and Rec department from the city and city engineers and city planners have all been so gracious and met me out there and are cued into what happened when we started testing some of the soils closer to the river. They're just way too sandy. So, and that was something, even though we did soil assessments initially, it just wasn't caught. And so that's what's really like doubled the price, is having to not only do more permitting on that end, and then also having to bring in more material and more of the contractor's time, and
So other than the grant of 100,000, you've raised $23,000+, and what are the plans to try to raise any more money for the trail? Because you kind of leave a balance and are talking to us about a balance. So what are your future plans to try to raise some of that deficit?
Sure. We do have some private funders that have expressed interest here. We also have some outstanding grants that we're optimistic about, but ultimately, a large funding source at this point would help us get the primary, needs for the trail down, and then we'd be able to fundraise for future, maintenance needs and anything kind of beyond that we've seen.
Grayson, I'm glad you mentioned the maintenance. I went back and read through the memorandum agreement. I think this falls more on Michael and y'all than it does the other, but, you can't help but get excited about the idea of 800 racers coming into town for a weekend. My goodness, we're all about that. Baseball tournaments and softball that we have, soccer tournaments are coming. What worries me a great deal is if we have a downpour on Friday afternoon, you've got 800 people, 500 people coming in to race, and we've got 48 baseball teams coming in, and our maintenance is spread as thin as it can be now. Hopefully, the labor supply will ease up some by the time you finish the run. But I worry, and I hope that there are volunteer organizations that do a great job. And I would certainly hope that as you're working, Michael, particularly, that you are keeping that in mind, because we're going to need help. Canceling either one of those events because we can't get them ready on Saturday morning would be horrible. It'd be horrible for the next time we try to have something. So please do keep in mind, as we're finishing this project, however we go about finishing it, that we're going to need help with that later.
And just to speak to your concerns about that, so Foothills has a trail crew volunteer group, and we meet every third Saturday of the month, and we plan on really hyping that up for this trail system. Good. And also including volunteers from OMC Cycles.
Right.
And we're also very plugged in with other trail volunteer organizations like SORBA and G5 Collective. And the contractor who's currently working on it just bought property in the city, and he is thoroughly invested in the future of the city. And so as far as if we needed professional maintenance done, he's there for it, so.
Yeah. Well, your trail crew and then the Mountain to Sea Trail, I think, is famous all over the country for their maintenance organization. So I know it can be done. Please do.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we will have regular maintenance on the trail. We'll inspect it.
Yeah,
We currently
sure.
do that with multiple segments, and of course, this is not our first trail project, and it won't be our last, hopefully. So this is something that we're very familiar with, and I think between kind of our robust volunteer program as is, investment from the city, and then, of course, some of the cycling specific
Sure.
stuff, we'll have plenty of trail maintenance. And it won't be we're all rushing to getting the maintenance done the week before the event. Hopefully, we'll have steady maintenance up until there, and then we'll have to go out there and check and make sure it's.
Well, yeah,
suitable
but
for
it's the
competition.
emergency situations
Right. Yes, sir.
that I really worry about.
If I could add to that, I put on a mountain bike race that's held at Lake James, Fontaflora, and this will be our 4th year run in the race. Every year, we donate a proceed to the trail system for maintenance. And it's pretty common in events to, like if for our event, if it was raining, or it rained the day before and the trail could be damaged during the event, we have an agreement with the state park that we will go out there and we'll fix the trail. And I think that's fairly common in other events, but that speaks to what you mentioned, just to give you some encouragement that, yes, we will be actively helping out, so.
Thank y'all so much. It's a great project.
Thank you.
Great project.
Thank you for hearing us out.
Next on our agenda is recognition. The Fairfield Inn and Suites of Morganton Historic Downtown has received the 2021 Silver Circle Award from Marriott International at their 2022 virtual award ceremony on June the 6th. We have a special recognition from Electric Cities, the Public Power Award of Excellence for Continuous Improvement and Grid Modernization. Received that on March 28, 2022. I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Wendy Cato if she'll present that to Brooks, if he'll come forward.
Hey, it's an awful pretty plaque.
It is.
Very nice, yes. Well, we're always very proud of our electric system, and to be able to receive such a exceptional achievement award on behalf of all of the people that work under you, I am honored to be able to do this. So continue the good work, and we haven't had very much through the thunderstorms these last weeks, so
Thank
we're
goodness.
pretty good, yes, for sure. But congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you very much. I'm very honored to receive this reward, but it's a team effort. Without my crews, I couldn't do nothing. And without Sally's help over the years and the council's support over the years, providing the funds and the support for that, we wouldn't be here today. I want to thank each one of y'all and thank my crews as well.
Brooks, part of our electric system has some age on it, and I understand in the very near future, we may be able to ribbon cut a new substation.
Substation, hopefully in less than a month. And I hate that age remark, I'm getting there too.
Not meant towards you, I was talking about the equipment, just the equipment.
Sure. Yes, we're very proud of that station up there on Coal Chute Road. And Lord willing, we get it turned on here within 30 days.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and on that topic, before we go on, we have been fortunate within our city limits in these thunderstorms. I feel like I need to knock on wood about that. Drexel, however, over the weekend was not fortunate, and Saturday they suffered some pretty catastrophic damage. And we sent 2 crews and 2 trucks, and they worked from 3 a.m. Saturday morning till lunchtime on Sunday to restore Drexel. Because they have the capability. And they help us out with a truck and several things when we need it, so we turn around and help them too.
Good neighbors.
Thanks, Brooks. Next is an announcement that we have received the $20,000 grant for project entitled City Parks Charging Stations for 2 charging stations to be installed at Catawba Meadows Park and Catawba River Soccer Complex. Any idea when that'll be installed, Sally?
No, they will now have to process the grant and to do all those things. And so this is through some of the state ARPA money, and so we'll have to wait until we get our orders on that. I can report, however, that the old charging stations that we've been waiting for everything to get here. So everything is here for the one going in at the Chamber of Commerce. They have located where that is happening. That should be underway very shortly. The 2, what I'm going to call like the superchargers, the really fast chargers, one going in at Starbucks out at the interstate and the other one at Martha's Park. We believe we have everything now for those. And so those layouts and stuff over there, we have a little electrical work to do to get them there. We also have to schedule with a certified installer through the companies for them to be here to give the approval for it. And we're getting on that schedule.
Great.
Good deal.
Another announcement, the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada has awarded the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting to the City of Morganton for its annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. Jesse, congratulations, and your department. Thank you so much. Upcoming events. Downtown, we have the Farmers Market continues Saturday from 8 to 12 noon at 300 Beach Street. On Wednesdays from 11 to 2 at the Mini Market at 111 North Green Street. The Sunday Pops concerts continue on the fourth Sundays from 3 to 5. I believe the next one is the King Bees, who are going to be performing on August 28th at the historic Burke County Courthouse Square. The Miss Morganton Festival Pageant will be at Comma Performing Arts Center August the 27th from 7 to 10. The art at City Hall is by Raymond Goodfellow, an accomplished artist whose bold, colorful creations reflect his love of life and fantastic imagination and appreciation of nature. The American Red Cross Drive will be at City Hall from 9 a.m. to 1:30 on August 25th in the council chambers at City Hall. And most important, the Historic Morganton Festival is September 9th through the 10th. Please save those dates. At the Comma Performing Arts Center, individual tickets are available to the public beginning today, August 1st. The State of Origins Brewery Festival will be at the Burke Historic Courthouse Square on Saturday, August the 6th from 5 to 9 p.m. The Master Plan with public input sessions are going to be Wednesday, August 17th at 4 o'clock at Comma Performing Arts Center and Thursday, August 18th at 5:30 at Crafted Downtown. Under Parks and Recreation, it's a drop-in community meeting to receive input on the proposed Hunting Creek Greenway alignment, hosted by NCSSM at Goodwin Hall on Thursday, August the 4th, 5:30 to 7. The College Street Swimming Pool will begin abbreviated hours during the month of August, open during the week on Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 9 p.m. and on Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and will close for the season on Sunday, August 28th. The splash pad at Martha's Park and Martin Luther King Park close after Labor Day, Monday, September the 5th. We need consideration. The City Hall will be closed Monday, September the 5th, in observance of Labor Day holiday. And do we need a motion on that?
We do, because we're going to move the council meeting from September 5th to September 12th.
What's the wish of council?
Make a motion to move the meeting from the 6th to the 12th.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Sally, next is the Municipal Power Agency number 1. Any update?
Nothing at this time. We've covered it.
We have a consent agenda which has 9 items. Sally, if you'll explain, please.
Absolutely. Would ask that the council approve those items in a single motion unless someone present would like an item removed and discussed separately. And for those of you viewing at home, those items include minutes from the regular meeting on June 6th, from the special budget meeting held on June 20th, a proposal to rename Pitts Avenue as a continuation of Morgan Drive, and that does not affect anyone's address, just makes a continuous name. The award of the annual tree trimming contract to Foothills Tree Maintenance for $240,000, and that's in the electric budget. And then a award of a contract to Max Presswood for a water line replacement project at Garrison Road, and that's in the amount of $130,000. A budget amendment, and that's included in this year's budget, so there's no amendment for that. A budget amendment to set up the project fund for the state's award of a building reuse grant for Project Highlander, and that's $210,000. That has received final approval, and those funds will flow through us to the company. And then approval of a contract with Sanford Holzhauser Economic Development to continue work on our recruitment efforts and our shared workspace efforts, and that is in the amount of $3,000 a quarter, and then for up to 1 year. And then award of contracts to purchase a fire truck, to purchase a knuckle boom truck, and then to award contract to finance those pieces. The truck and its associated equipment is $820,000. The knuckle boom is $176,561. Both of those are included in the current budget that we have. And the financing contract, we received 2 bids on that. and would recommend financing those with Truist, who gave us the lowest rates, a 7-year term for the fire truck at 3.23%, and a 5-year term for the knuckle boom truck at a 3.19% interest rate. Those are a little higher than what we've had in the past as the Fed has continued to raise interest rates, but they're still pretty darn good. Ask you to consider approving a 10-year capital improvement plan for water resources, which will help us in resubmitting the grant application to fund some water and sewer infrastructure with Department of Environmental Quality. And then finally, award a contract to purchase a front loader for the wastewater department. This is not financed. It is in the wastewater budget, and that is in the amount of $300,285.44. And that is through the Sourcewell Co-op contract, which is like a state purchase contract.
Any members of council wish to have any items removed from the consent agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Can you tell we've changed fiscal years and business is going?
I didn't get a chance to comment as I was going to, but it's interesting that these figures that we're doing, were all part of the budget. I mean, we've already discussed, for those at home who thought that was a lot of money in a consent, these were already part of our existing budget, and doggone good job, Jesse.
Thank you, Butch. Okay, under new business, we need to consider the adoption of policies related to the use and expenditure of the ARPA funds. Sally?
So I think Louis is going to take
Okay.
this exciting topic.
Okay.
Truly, ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act, or as we sometimes call it, the Act to provide more funding for the paper and pulp industry because of all the trees that sacrifice their lives
this, yeah.
in connection with this. The great news is the city has received a total of $4,835,619 in funds directly from the federal government. As Sally mentioned earlier, there are also certain state ARPA funds that we've received as well. But in any event, before we can commit, that is contract for, spending any of that money, the U.S. Treasury regulations require that the city have adopted and enforce certain policies for how it's going to expend those funds, account for those funds, administer those funds. And that's what these policies are. Specifically, there are 7 that are required, and every local government that's getting ARPA funds is supposed to be adopting policies to this effect. The Treasury did not itself create any model policies or sample policies. Fortunately, in North Carolina, we have the advantage of the School of Government, which did draft sample policies, and I have based these policies on those samples with some minor changes. I think it's important to note that none of these policies, excuse me, diverge from the current or longstanding policies and practices and procedures in Morganton. Some of them just formalize what we've already done, and others are really in line with the way we've been doing things. In any event, there are 7 policies, which are non-discrimination, that is, non-discrimination in the use of the money. Records retention, that's very important. The federal legislation requires basically that all records and accountings, everything concerning the use of this money be continued effectively till 2031. Conflicts of interest, I think that speaks for itself, the importance of doing that. Eligible uses, the ARPA funds can only be used for certain purposes, and they want a policy that says, yes, we will only use it for those purposes. Cost principles, that's, I'd leave it to Sally or Jesse to explain what that's all about, but basically, can I say that has to do with accounting and how we account for, the use of the money. Property management, very important because ARPA funds may be used and perhaps will be used for the acquisition of property, and by that, they don't mean just real property, they also mean equipment and supplies. And program income, one of the most onerous, I guess, parts of the whole ARPA is that you're severely limited in using the money for anything that will produce revenue. So in any event, all of these policies are what I'd call standard, and we are just proposing that you formally adopt them so that we will have a record for the U.S. Treasury and anybody else who looks that we have adopted those policies and will follow them. And I guess the one other thing I should have added is that several of the policies designate a specific individual by office, by title, to be the point of contact or the responsible person. In many of the cases, that will be our ARPA and Special Projects Director, Rob Winkler now, who will have oversight over most of this. Some of the more specifically financial or accounting things will be the responsibility of the Finance Director.
Thank you, Louis. What's the wish of council?
Motion to approve resolutions adopting these 7 policies required by ARPA rules: non-discrimination, records retention, conflicts of interest, eligible uses, cost principles, property management, program income.
I have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Louis, there is a lot of paperwork.
Lot of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork. We had to
Mayor,
put
I
in
was
next-
going to say that what we just broke down into those 7 things, I think took about 50 pages.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of work.
that was the reference to the trees.
And that's after I eliminated all the footnotes in the School of Government sample policy.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And I would add to that as a reminder, we got our first deposit of this money last May.
Yes.
There were no rules. And we've been waiting for them, and we received the rest of the money early June of this year. But we have been talking about this since last May and since last budget season on how we could invest this in our infrastructure and where we need it the most. And obviously sewer, water and sewer stuff still rises to the top, and we're still working. And all of these policies just support the idea that reinvesting it into your infrastructure is the way to go.
Next on our agenda is consideration of award of contract for water and wastewater infrastructure. Sally?
Yes, so along with all of this, we continue to try in this time of lots of money being available in lots of different places. We've talked several times, the difficulty is tapping into it and getting access to it. Back in May, I believe it was, you all allowed us to contract with W.K. Dixon and Company, an engineering firm, to help write grant applications for some state ARPA money for water and sewer infrastructure projects. And in the first round this spring, we were not funded. We were not funded for the grant portion, and we were not funded for the loan portion. And it's a competitive process with a point system. Couple things happened. They ended up, the state decided not to spend as much ARPA money in that round as they had first thought they would. They wanted to hold on to some of that money for a longer period of time. We are being advised by the engineers that we should resubmit again in this second round, and the staff really believes that that's the right thing to do. This is to fund the, if we were successful, to fund the lift station, the Silver Creek lift station, about $5.2 million, and the sedimentation, flocculation, and coagulation project at the water plant, which is about $4.1 million. We believe that we can get more points on the water side of this. We don't believe we can gain more on the sewer. We got everything we think we qualify for, so we'll just have to take our chances. In order to resubmit, and you've adopted a longer capital plan so that we can do this, it would cost $1,500 to resubmit the application. There's a fee. And then the other thing we would need to do is adopt a resolution authorizing us to, in essence, reapply in the fall of '22 cycle.
I need a motion from council.
Motion to approve a contract with W.K. Dixon and Company Incorporated for up to $1,500 to prepare the applications for submittal to DWI by September 30th, 2022.
Thanks, Chris. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Wendy. Any discussion? And this 1,500 is just to prepare the application, Sally, correct?
Yes, and to pay the fee to resubmit.
Okay.
Same
Any-
process as we went through last time. We're just trying to get more points in the water side, and maybe we're more competitive this go-round.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I need a second motion, please.
I'll enter a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the application to NCDEQ-DWI Fall 2022 for the construction of a drinking water project to upgrade and rebuild the water treatment plant, coagulation, and sedimentation basins.
Thank you, Butch. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Chris, thanks. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is the consideration of items pertaining to the stormwater permit and recent audit. Sally?
And I believe Michael Chapman is going to come up and talk about this.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Sally, Louie. First, I would just like to thank you guys for approving the knuckle boom, the financing for the knuckle boom. It's not hit electric too hard, but it's hit us pretty hard lately with trees falling across the road.
Yeah.
We've been out, we've had to go out pretty often lately, so thanks for that. And this topic is going to use up quite a bit of paper as well.
Yep.
But I know stormwater's been a discussion, a topic of discussion for several months now, and we've kind of anticipated our audit results. We started an audit about a year and a half ago and had DEQ had staffing shortages, and so they delayed it, and then they ended up coming back end of June and finished up the audit. We got a result back 1st of July, and we were kind of anticipating that after talking to a lot of the surrounding cities and towns in the area, because most everybody's getting an NOV, which is a notice of violation, and it's basically on our MS4. It's our overall stormwater throughout the whole city stormwater permit, and it's DEQ is who does that, and it's North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, and they're regulated by, I think, EPA. And this notice of violation requires corrective action, and they give us 120 days to develop a comprehensive stormwater management plan. And this plan is pretty complex. There's a lot to this thing, which it's not that we were doing anything wrong. It's just more restrictive rules and regulations that they're now are enforcing. And it's going to require us to change our standards and procedures and how we manage our system. And some of the things are like how we monitor construction sites, like enforcement and things like that, GIS mapping, records, how we keep records, taking samples, and it's a lot of field work and a lot of documentation. And the plan itself is pretty comprehensive, and it's not a reflection of our system itself. Our system is not failing like the pipes in the ground. This is more guidelines and procedures and the things we have to adapt to, the changes that's coming down the pipe. So what we've done is we've asked Withers Ravenel, which is our on-call professional engineering firm for stormwater, to help us, to give us a proposal to help us to become compliant. And they have the expertise and the resources to be able to bring us, to be able to bring all this together in such a short time frame. And so that's what you see before you tonight, is is a consideration to award a contract to Withers Ravenel for $86,750. And then we have a $20,000, when we were talking, we knew we were gonna have to do something like this, but we didn't have any clue how much it was gonna cost us. So when we were, Jesse and Sally and I were talking, during the budget process, we put $20,000 in there for professional services, in account for professional services. The bid came in at $86,750, so that's what the bullet point below that is a budget amendment for $66,750. That's the difference of the $20,000. But this is going to require a lot of staff to implement these changes, and then once we get the plan in place, then that's when the work's really going to start, because we have to follow these guidelines, and which is going to require a lot from staff to be able to keep up. And then they come back every 5 years and audit us and make sure that we're doing what that plan says we're doing. I mean,
Basically
whether we have the
setting up
resources
what we're
or
going to
not.
be judged by.
Yes, it's what we're going to be judged by, and the reality of it, as a public works director, what concerns me is, I know what we have to do. I worry about having, we're going to put it on paper, but will we have the resources to
Manpower.
actually do it?
Yeah.
And so, but
Yeah.
that's basically it. Does anybody have any questions?
Michael, recently we had some late afternoon thunderstorms. Have we had a problem with stormwater? We've been able to
Yes.
handle it so
Just
far.
a few, yes. We've had it's usually the same places. So my guys have been trying to get out there in Public Works. We've been trying to get out there and make sure those catch basins are clean in those areas. These thunderstorms, they'll fill those catch basins up daily. So
Right.
it's and we've had some shortages in staff too, due to COVID and things like that. So we're doing the best we can to keep everything. But luckily, we haven't had too many stormwater issues throughout these
Great.
storms. It's just been more trees falling. We've had quite a few trees fall across the road lately.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
I need a motion.
And I feel the need to say one more time, just to remind everyone, the sinkhole at the post office is not the city's.
There you go.
No one's waiting on us to fix that. It's not ours, because we will get questions about that tomorrow after this discussion.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
So I really feel the need to say that.
Yes, definitely.
What's the wish of council?
Motion to approve resolution supporting the city's intention to comply with the requirements of our NPDES stormwater permit and program.
Thank you, Chris. Do I have a motion to have a second?
Second.
Okay, Wendy, thanks. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I need another motion, please.
Make a motion to consideration of award of contract to Withers Ravenel in the amount of $86,750 to support the efforts to adequately respond to the NOV.
Thanks, Chris. Do I have a motion to have a second?
Second.
Butch, thanks. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Need third motion, please.
Motion to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $66,750 to appropriate adequate funding for the professional services contract with Withers Ravenel.
Thank you, Wendy. I have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Any discussion?
Sally, if we were not to do this and we were fined, what would be,
They can find up to like $25,000 a day.
so.
I mean, it's crazy.
Putting it in perspective of having this assistance.
And I will say, back last May, when we were working on budget numbers, April and May, at that point, they hadn't even come back and completed our audit again. I mean, we really had no clue, okay? After they came back, and the budget's adopted, after they came back and completed the audit, we spent several more days with them. We start to find out they've completed more audits around here. You start having discussions with your sister communities. Honestly, the 86 didn't shock me. I was fully anticipating after that 75 plus, just because of the time that it takes and the expertise. And said that, you know, we've been working with them now for, well, almost 2 years since the first visit, and then we get it and we're given basically 4 months to respond.
That's
Pretty
the
quick.
push, yeah.
So again, that's part of it.
Just to make sure, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Oh, did we vote?
Well, we did right then, so I just want to make sure
Sorry.
we got it on record.
Okay.
Next is consideration of, go ahead.
Could we do something out of order? I
Sure.
want to ask,
Yeah,
because it makes sense.
Okay.
So tonight you have another item laid before you that we were going to consider at the end, but it really makes sense to talk about it now. So in this ongoing process of, as we keep saying, looking to access all the dollars that are out there right now to help with some of this. One of the things that is getting ready to happen, and the state has been finalizing a program to offer state ARPA money for stormwater planning and for stormwater development, we'll call it. They're rolling that out this month. Now, it's all pretty new, and they're not exactly quite finished with all of their rules. Heard that before, haven't you? But they're finalizing them, and they have put out requests for grants, and that application is due September 30th. So what they're offering is you can qualify for up to $400,000 for stormwater planning. And what we've just talked to you about is responding for our permit. What we talked about in February at our workshop and several times is we start having to comply with that permit. Our stormwater program is going to have to be more formalized. We are not going to be able to continue to comply without doing that. That means making decisions. Number one, we need an asset mapping. We need to know exactly what we have. There are pipes in the ground that we don't know. I mean, that's just the bottom line. They were put in decades ago, and there is no record of it, and we don't know what size it is, we don't exactly know where it is, and we don't know what condition it's in. And if we're going to plan for this, we kind of need to know that. That takes effort, right? Effort and resources. We need to assess condition of those. We need to look at a stormwater utility, which is one option, versus a stormwater program, I'll call it, as a part of the general fund. We need to look at what sets you up for ability to get grants. Is it the utility, or can you do it otherwise? If you do that, and I get into all the accounting, like if you're going to transfer your stormwater system asset-wise into a utility, how do you assess what it is and do any of that financially? So there's a lot that goes into this. We would like to apply for that planning money and see if we can get it. Withers, who is currently working with us, who has all the stormwater information in their possession right now that we possess, are in a great position to do that. They have quoted us $5,000 to prepare the application. We would be required to approve that contract and then to approve a resolution authorizing that application tonight. Again, we were scared to wait until our September meeting, which we just moved to the 12th, and this is due the 30th.
Yeah.
So these kind of go hand in hand, which is why I wanted to talk about it now.
What's the wish of council?
I make a motion to approve a contract with Withers Ravenel for up to $5,000 to prepare the application for submittal to DWI by September 30th, 2022, and to allow the mayor
No. Oh, go ahead.
and/or city manager to execute such contract.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I need a second motion.
Motion to approve a resolution authorizing the application to NCDEQ-DWI Fall 2022 for planning of a stormwater project.
Thanks, Chris. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Wendy. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is consideration of a resolution to appoint Wade Griffin as Revenue Officer for Planning and Zoning. Sally?
Okay. As review officer. So everything changes, right? And so Jesse James has moved into a different community and a different career. And Philip Lookadoo is doing the same. and I didn't tell him I was going to say that. So we have a new zoning officer, Wade Griffin, and we would like to ask the county, the process is to ask the county to approve Wade as our new review officer for zoning issues.
What's the wish of council?
Make a motion to approve a resolution requesting the county commissioners of Burke County to appoint Wade Griffin as a review officer pursuant to General Statutes 47-20.2 and remove Jesse James from the list of review officers.
Thanks, Chris. I have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Wendy. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is consideration to permanently close and abandon a section of Agnes Street.
That's me.
Louis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This may sound very familiar because council will remember that last year you had exactly the same heading concerning Agnes Street, which is it was a street that extends between Carbon City Road and Jamestown Road, basically across the area near where there used to be the old carbon plant parking lot. Dusty George's Investment owns the property on both sides. They, except for the part that SGL Carbon still retained, they closed most of that street. You went through the process. We abandoned and closed most of it to the middle of the block, from Jamestown Road to the middle of the block, several months ago. Now, George's Investment still owns the property on both sides for a distance of about 40 feet further toward Carbon City Road. They acquired an extra lot, apparently, and now they've asked to close that. Again, it's an unopened street, never has been opened. Closing this additional 40 feet and abandoning it will not affect anyone's access, and that's why staff has no objection. I should note that they really can't go any farther toward Carbon City Road because the part that is closer to Carbon City Road does serve several houses. But that's not affected by this. This has never been open, and the owner just wants to be able to unite his properties on either side of this street, and that would be the effect of doing this. If you want to proceed with this, you will need to call for a public hearing at the September meeting, and so what you're approving would just be a resolution of intent to close and abandon, depending on the outcome of the hearing.
What's the wish of council?
Motion to adopt a resolution of intent to permanently close and abandon a section of Agnes Street, to set a public hearing for Monday, September 12th, 2022, at 6 p.m. in the City Hall Council Chambers, to consider this action, and to direct the city clerk to appropriately advertise such hearing and post notice of the same in at least 2 places along Agnes Street.
Thank you, Wendy. Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is consideration of contract for engineering services and the restoration of Hunting Creek. Call on Philip Luckady.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in keeping with the discussion of stormwater and studying and spending money, we would like to entertain, I suppose, a project similar to what we did for Bethel Park, where we studied the ecological system of the East Prong Hunting Creek and Fiddler's Run. We would, however, be looking at this section of Hunting Creek across the state properties, the 800 acres, extending from the culverts at I-40 up to South College Street. The idea being that the Department of Cultural Resources has granted money to take on a study to study putting a greenway, placing a greenway along Hunting Creek in that area. So in doing that, we felt like that it was necessary to look at the actual creek itself, to look at the same restorative measures that we are looking at for East Prong Hunting Creek and Fiddler's Run, but along Hunting Creek, so that in the future, when that greenway is constructed and as stormwater flows through Hunting Creek, it doesn't, we place that greenway in a place that it doesn't wash out the greenway. Similar to if you've been on the greenway now, we have a section that's dangerously close where Silver Creek has eroded the banks of the creek next to our greenway, and we actually received money from FEMA to restore that bank. So to try to mitigate any of those concerns, we are looking to take on this study. And the purpose of the study, one, is it'll help us to appropriately identify the location of the greenway, but two, it also, in keeping with, as Sally mentioned, the flow of money coming from the state and from the federal government, allows us or positions us to be able to then make application for a greenway to be constructed and also for that restorative work to take place along Hunting Creek in that corridor. So the only thing that I would add is that the timeline would be, the study would take place between August or now, if it's awarded, and October of this year. And then between October and December of this year is when we would apply through Resources Institute, we would apply for grants to possibly to construct the greenway, but definitely to take on the restoration acts or work for the Hunting Creek.
And there would be
cost-
lots of other partners in that, at that time.
At that time, currently, and that's the reason why Department of Cultural Resources, I think through the Hometown Strong program has kind of taken on the lead of that, and they are coordinating all of the different property owners, the different state agencies and whatnot to figure out where best to place the greenway. The other thing that is that I almost neglected to mention, but that is really important from the city's perspective is, if you recall, we had to take on work where we extended the sewer line across Western Piedmont's property for Murphy's Farm. There was there was an amount of work that had to be conducted relative to environmental concerns and the extension of that sewer line. This study would take into consideration all of the utilities that would need to come across the creek that would be in that area and tell us what we need to do ahead of time so that we're not caught off guard when those developments are proposed. And then the other portion of that is that the cost that's proposed is, I think it's almost exactly the same as the Bethel Park study. It's $30,000, and we would require a budget amendment.
What's the wish of council?
Motion to approve a contract and issue work authorization to Wildlands Engineering Incorporated for conceptual design for Hunting Creek restoration for an amount of $30,000, including approval for the mayor and city manager to execute all agreements regarding this contract.
Have a motion to have a second.
Second?
Any discussion? Philip, we all have a map, I think, of the proposed, and there's
Yes, sir.
red lines and yellow lines and green lines and blue lines. You don't have that chart in front of you, do you?
I don't. No, sir.
Okay. Okay. It looks like it's going to take a consultant to, we really will need a consultant. There's a red line on the bottom part of the page leading up to CCHU Morganton. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. Is that going to be the trail or a proposed trail or?
The proposed trail at present, and that is still in flux, and that's
Right.
and that is the public meeting that's occurring at NCSSM on Thursday to
Correct.
take in public comment.
Correct.
But the current trail that they are proposing is, if you're looking at the map on here and you look up at West Fleming Drive, they're proposing that it would be the blue squiggly line, then the orange line, and then and it repeats that. And then the others, the other blue squiggly lines are just possible alternatives, because one of the things that they're looking to, in their study, that they're looking to discover and propose is, so the main line that was the blue and the orange is kind of the spine, but they've also been tasked with looking at how to access that greenway from, say, the NCSSM or School for the Deaf or Murphy's Farm or Western Piedmont or Broughton. So how all that ties together.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Philip?
The idea behind that being in the planning stage, not to plan something that would be an impediment to those in the future. And obviously for this, for us, we're the party that probably cares the most about the stream restoration from a standpoint of future maintenance, from a standpoint of the utilities and everything involved. That really, the impairment of the stream, Hunting Creek is impaired, water quality, all of those things. We're the entity, out of all the entities that would love to use all of this, that has the most concern regarding those issues.
I think we're being very preemptive there instead of building it and not having taken care of the issues that supports it. And so I think that although it's yet another amendment to the budget, I think that it's got a lot of forethought, and I think that we need to do it.
Thank you, Wendy. I have a motion to approve a contract and a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
I need another motion, please.
Make a motion to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $30,000.
Thank you, Chris. I have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Butch. All in favor, any discussion? All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it passes. Next is the Human Relations Commission. It's a mayoral appointment, and I would like to appoint Judy Brown and Chartilla Lytle to the Human Relations Commission for terms to expire May 5th, 2025. Okay, we have another consideration to the Recreation Advisory Commission. What's the wish of council?
Motion to appoint Ken Grattan to the Recreation Advisory Commission for a term to expire on June 30th, 2025.
Thank you, Wendy. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. And
Mayor, I'd just like to thank the people who are coming to the table and wanting to serve on our commission.
Okay.
And there are still vacancies on the Rec Advisory Commission.
I have another motion to consideration to the ABC Board. What's the wish of council?
Make a motion to reappoint Mark Miller to the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board for a term to expire on August 5th, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. I have a motion. To have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Butch. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Are there any other items to come before the board?
We've done it.
We are adjourned.